Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessinho. So on today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about squad building. I know it's been like headlines or headline news that there's been a change in the FFP. It's been scrapped, the financial fair play, and there's been a lot of conversations amongst Arsenal fans about what does this mean for us? What does this mean for our summer transfer window? Will Kroenke spend? Who do we have to sell? Who stays, who goes, and things like that. So we're definitely going to get into it. I have special guests here with me today. The guys from Same Old Arsenal will be here. Lee Judges is late, so make sure that you guys get him in the chat box for that. But Craig and Dan are backstage right now, so we'll go ahead and get started, introduce them in, and get rocking. You guys, how upset are we at Lee for being late today? What could possibly be the reason for him being late to this stream? You guys let me know. You know him better than I do.
We're used to it, Jess. We're used to it. He does, when he does come on these video podcasts, he does like to be doing his hair. So perhaps there's a couple out of place or something. I don't know. But yeah, we're used to it. So what can we say?
When he shows up, maybe we'll let him in. Maybe we won't. We'll make a decision later. But Craig, how are you doing? I just, of course, I asked you that as soon as you put the drink up to your mouth, but how are you today? You're not the host. I'm the host today, so you get to just relax and talk Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. Thanks very much for having us on. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. We watch a lot of your stuff. We're always talking about you. One of the best female analysts I've seen for Arsenal, so congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing. I think you're very, very good, and you should go very far, young lady.
Thank you so much. And we have Dan. How are you, Dan? Are you happy bunny or sad bunny today?
I knew you were going to ask that. You know what? I'm a happy bunny just for the pure fact that I get a little bit of break from the stress of Arsenal Football Club for the next week or so. I can sit and watch some international football and chill. There's not much riding on it as far as I'm concerned in terms of the opposition in San Marino and some of the other teams that England have got. So I would enjoy that. Pleasure to be on. I don't know how much you've paid Craig, but obviously quite a lot for his intro for yourself. But in all seriousness, Jess, I love you and I'll always come on your shows and always welcome on Same Old Arsenal on Monday or Friday nights. So it's great to be on, and thanks for having both me and Craig and Lee when he does decide to finally get here onto the show. So thanks very much, Jess.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be awesome. Like, I love talking squad building. That's my favorite thing. Even though most of the things that I talk about don't come to fruition, I still like talking about it and pretending like I know what we're going to do, so that's basically what we're going to do, is just make some predictions, things like that. But I do have to ask you guys, is it kind of weird, especially for you, Dan, you're obviously probably a fan of England, hating Kane one day and then having to hope that he plays well the next. I couldn't really do that.
No, it is hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been hard the last, I'd say, 5 years with, not so much of late, but Dele Alli's and Eric Dyer's have been players that have been picked. We had Trippier, Walker, Rose. Oh, it's been tough. And of course, Harry Kane, who is class. And, you can't say he isn't, but it's one of those situations that I try and get through the pain and drink more beer and try and celebrate it when they do score. Harry Kane's the top talent, and as far as I'm concerned, if he's in the England side, we've always got a chance of scoring goals because as much as I don't like him, when he's wearing an England shirt, I have to cheer him on because I'm very patriotic. But if you ask me now, would I rather Arsenal win a Champions League or England win the World Cup? I'd rather Arsenal win the Champions League. I would. And people say I'm mad and that you want to see England win the World Cup. Nah, not for me. Arsenal are my team, and I will always vote for them ahead of England. But it is difficult, Jess. But listen, I've always been a fan of the Euros and World Cup, and it's just great in the pubs when we're allowed to, that is, in the sunshine, having a beer with your mates. And it is good because everyone comes together, whether you're a Tottenham or an Arsenal or Man United or Chelsea, you'll want one thing, and that is England to do well. But I prefer watching Arsenal and always have done.
I love it. Hello to everybody in the chat. I see you guys there. Let us know how you're feeling today, where you're watching in from, and if there's anything specific that you guys want us to talk about, and we'll try to get to it. But I have a long rundown, so I'm sure I'm going to get through some of the things that you guys want to talk about. Yo, I see you in the chat. Hey, Lone Star, you're always here. Brutal comments from Lone Star sometimes, but also awesome. AK Gunner 4049, thank you for being here. C. Walder, I'm in the camp too, bud. I guess they're talking about Aubameyang and, you know, his form and things like that. So we will talk about that, but let's jump in. You know, with the whole financial fair play thing, I'm not sure how that's going to work out, you know, what it's going to look like come this summer. Is it going to benefit, you know, teams that don't have owners that like to spend, or, you know, the teams with the oil money like Chelsea and, you know, Manchester City? We're not really sure, you know, but when I look at it, I'm just thinking, regardless to what happens, you know, Stan Kroenke, the Kroenkes KSE are going to have to put money, you know, put their money where their mouth is if they want us to, you know, progress. For you guys, how important is it for them to make a significant investment? And do you believe that they will? Are they, you know, going to try to push us forward, or just kind of stay absent? What are you guys thinking?
Well, I'm not too sure he will, although we all want him to. I think after the coronavirus is finished, it's impossible to say that Arsenal's a self-sustaining club, because we're not a self-sustaining club anymore, not with what's happening around the world. We've lost our match day revenues. We've lost, you know, everything that comes with a match day: ticket sales, beer sales, pie sales, burger sales, everything. We're missing it all. Program sales, the lot. So I think reading on the Swiss Ramble on Twitter, he's absolutely brilliant. If anyone's not following him, follow him now, because he goes into the financial details very, very, very finely. And we're just not a self-sustaining club anymore. So the only way we are going to get money is if Mr. Kroenke puts his hand in his pocket. And unfortunately, I don't think that he really, really cares about the club. I think what I would like to see him do is I'd like to see him sell it. I'd like to see him pass it on, because when he first came into Arsenal, he knew that it was a self-sustained model that was going to make him a lot of money, and it already has made him a lot of money. People can tell me that he hasn't used any of the money to build football stadiums in America. I disbelieve you. I think he's taken a lot of money out of the club and has used it elsewhere. I would like him to make an investment, of course, but I don't think he needs to make a massive investment. He doesn't have to give us hundreds and hundreds of millions. There's a lot of players out there that we could get hold of that wouldn't break the bank. I think we're quite close to being, as we were speaking off air, Jess, we're quite close to being a consistent team, a team that can challenge the top 5, the top 4, just with a few round pegs to go in the right round holes. We don't have to spend a lot of money. Let's hope that when the son said be excited, that he meant this season as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's really what we have to hope, is that, you know, they meant what they said. You know, when I saw the whole thing about the financial fair play, I was just kind of, you know, talking to other people on Twitter, and I was just, you know, significant investment to me, which I feel like we need, is not necessarily meaning that we need more Pepes. I think we need more Kieran Tierney's and Gabriels, you know,
Absolutely.
the right players, you know, 25 million, maybe to 30 million, you know, maybe 2 or 3 of those in the right positions can get us to where, you know, we want to be. Because to me, I just think that there's teams that have owners that want to spend money, you know, like Leeds, like their owners are dedicated to making that team better. And they may, I mean, when's the last time you've seen a team that's coming from the championship do so well? I know they leave the back door open, but they're going to invest. They're going to invest in that team. Everton as well.
I will say one thing though. I mean, although, you know, we've spent poorly. The money that he has given us, we've spent it poorly. We've wasted it on. I mean, we wasted 72 million on Nicolas Pepe. Well, when I say wasted, we overpaid for Nicolas Pepe. When you're giving players like Willian over 100 grand a week, when you're bringing in players like Granit Xhaka for 35 million, we paid 35 million for Mustafi. We have just overpaid for players, and whoever was behind the recruitment of those players, well, it's obviously gone now, but they needed to be sacked on the spot, if you ask me. But so perhaps I'm being a bit harsh on the Kroenkes. if we sit down and look at it, perhaps it is it's the recruitment people that we need to have a word with.
But the thing is that they hire those people. That's the thing. If you want to be an absentee owner and you want to just put it off on other people, these are the same people that hired Raul. They sat down with Raul and allowed him to, I guess, I don't know, lie to them about what he could do. Because, I mean, this guy had a very spotty record at Barcelona. So for me, like, it's difficult for me to just say, well, the right people need to be in the right positions you need to hire them. You need to be at least involved in the hiring process to a point where you feel like you have the right people in place, because you don't know what you're doing. They
True.
obviously don't know anything about, football. They're more invested in American sports and all that kind of stuff. So they need to have the right people in place. And I think we're going to kind of learn whether or not Arteta are the right guys for the job, because not only are they really inexperienced, but this is probably the worst Arsenal team that we've seen in the most competitive Premier League that we've seen in a long time. So it's not a good time to have such inexperienced people at the wheel, but they're there. Dan, how do you feel about it? Do you think that Edu and Arteta can get something done? Do you have faith in them? I know that you're not, huge on Arteta, not because you don't like him, but because you don't think he should have been the guy in the seat. But do you think they can do a job this summer?
One thing I have been positive about is Arteta and Edu's performances off the pitch. Because on it, I haven't seen enough to convince me, but I have seen an improvement in the recruitment. I don't think that we can sit there and say that maybe apart from Willian and potentially Ceballos, although I understand why we got him again, all of the other signings have been positive. Whether it's Pablo Mari and Cedric, who have proven to be good squad players, or if it's first-team players like Kieran Tierney, Thomas Partey, Gabriel, etc. Even Martin Odegaard, who I think has been fantastic the last few games. So it has started to look more positive. Financial fair play to me doesn't mean anything and never has. So get rid of it because it hasn't really affected us and helped us. Certainly not. So that's fine that's gone. It will be interesting because I totally agree with one thing Craig said, and that's that we've always been a self-sustaining business model under Stan Kroenke. Stan Kroenke's never invested 400, 500 million pounds. He's always bought the Aubameyangs and Lacazettes with Champions League money or TV revenue money. We've always been self-sustaining. Now we won't be because of the pandemic and because of what's happened in the world. It will be really interesting to see how ambitious and how much of an interest the Kroenkes will play in this summer. And I don't expect it to be much, unfortunately, because why would they? They've never done it before. They've never had the ambition to want to win at Arsenal. They've always wanted to make money out of our club. And they have done that over the last few years, in my opinion. They're more interested in spending $5 billion on a new stadium for the Rams than they are in putting $5 million into Arsenal Football Club. So why would we expect to see that change? I think our only hope is that Arteta and Edu can get some of this recruitment right. Craig's also spot on when he talks about how much money we need to spend, because 500 or 600 million we might need to spend if we want to compete with Manchester City. Yes, but actually we probably don't need to spend more than maybe 100 million, because 4 or 5 players for the 25 million pounds that Kieran Tierney and Gabriel's got for us, I would take. Some of the best signings we've made of the last couple of seasons have cost under 25 million pounds. Kieran Tierney is one of them. Pablo Mari's been a good squad player. Guendouzi, I know, hasn't worked out, but was a good talent when he came into the side. Gabriel Martinelli cost 8 million pounds. So we're not looking at the 80 million pound signings of Jack Grealish's, although that would be nice. I'd be looking at the potential of Buendia from Norwich, Bissouma from Brighton, maybe Lamptey from Brighton or Aarons from Norwich. We're looking at Edouard from Celtic or Marcus Thuram from Gladbach. They're the sort of signings I think we should be looking to go for, as opposed to the Jack Grealishes, because I just don't think they're realistic, unfortunately. I wouldn't underestimate the pulling power of Arsenal as a club, because I think we're still one of the best globally in the world. I think when you look at Haaland, everybody laughs and says, why would he want to come to Arsenal? Everybody laughed when Alexis Sanchez came and said he wasn't going to come. Everybody said that Haaland would not come to Arsenal, but let's not forget that he's at Dortmund, which is a smaller club than Arsenal. Although they might be more successful at the moment in terms of Champions League football, Arsenal was still a huge pulling power. Thomas Partey could have stayed at Atletico Madrid to go and win La Liga because they're 8 points clear at the moment, but he didn't. He wanted to come to London and play for Arsenal. We've attracted Aubameyang, Lacazette, Partey, and some of the biggest clubs, Odegaard, some of the big players that have come from big teams because we're Arsenal Football Club. So I don't underestimate the pulling power of the Arsenal. I just think that we need to get these summer signings correct, because 4 or 5 this summer could be so hugely important. I believe we are good enough to get into the top 4 with this current crop of players. A lot of people disagree with it, but I think the manager should be doing a lot better. I think with 3 or 4, we should 100% cement that place and look to push as high as we can in the table. So I'm expecting a successful summer, not a 2 or 3 signings of 80 million, but maybe 4 or 5 in the 20 million mark.
So let's unpack that just a little bit, because you were talking about players like Thuram, Basuma, Lamptey, players like that. So what positions actually need to be improved at the minimum, this summer? I know that we could look at probably every single position and say, well, we could get 7 players and that would probably make a super team. But we're talking about in a very difficult market with probably limited funds. What are the positions that are the priority for us to get from where we are now to 4th place, which is what we need next season? For me, one of those is definitely, the creative midfielder position. I think we did ourselves a disservice by not having a creative midfielder from the start. If you think about our form before Christmas and our form after Christmas, which has been about 6th place, I mean, we're talking about the difference between being in Europe and not, because we didn't start off the season prepared. So I think solidifying somebody like Odegaard is probably important. But what other positions Craig, do you think we need to improve in?
For me, we definitely need a new right back. I don't trust Bellerin. I think Bellerin will be off this summer, to be honest. If we can get a good bid for him, I'd let him go. Then people say we've got Cedric. Do I trust Cedric? Is Cedric a player that will get us into the top 4 playing at right back? I don't think so. So for me, a very, very important position to sort out would be right back. We need to bring in another left back for cover for Kieran Tierney, because Kieran Tierney really is the only left full back we've got. I know Saka could come in there and do a job for us if Tierney got injured, but then of course you're taking Saka away from the attack and you're not using Saka's attacking abilities. Odegaard would be one that I would love to sign. He would be the player that I'd want to sign this summer on a permanent deal. We need to replace Granit Xhaka, unfortunately. Although I've been I've stuck up for Granit Xhaka in the past. Lots of stats out there to say that he's one of the top central midfielders in Europe. The stats are there. You can read them yourself. They're on the internet. I know Dan's laughing, but
he's gonna
mad.
blow.
Yeah, it's mad. They're mad to read, and they're mad to see the players that he's up there with. It really is. It's ridiculous.
But can I just say this about Granit Xhaka real quick? Is that we're talking about progressive passing, and of course, it's never been a question about his passing range, and he's a good technical player that has a good football IQ. Our issue is with his athleticism and agility.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about, and that's something that he cannot change.
Yeah.
So the stats do say that he's better than probably what people think. But the reality is that if we want to do anything, we probably need somebody with a similar kind of athleticism as Thomas. So if Thomas gets hurt, we're not playing with Ceballos and Xhaka right in front of our defense again, 10 yards back, right in front of Leno. So it's not really about his passing and all that. I know that that's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, he can do those things, but agility wise, you can't change that. And that's a problem. Ceballos, Elneny, Xhaka, they all are very limited,
You're dead right. You're dead right. And I would expect, people who you've named now would expect Ceballos to go back to Real Madrid. I'd expect Elneny to be sold. The big decision is, do we keep Lacazette? I've heard lots of people talking about if they got a good offer for Aubameyang, they'd let him go. So, I mean, personally, I wouldn't let Aubameyang go personally, but saying that, it depends on how much the offer comes in. Because I've been really disappointed with him this half of the season, and I've been really impressed with Lacazette this half of the season. So it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. Like I said, we could talk about it all night. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say we need a new goalkeeper. Again, I don't agree with that because Leno's, what is he, 28? He's not even in his prime years yet. And I think people are doing him people are being a bit harsh on him, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people have got a lot of short memories about Bernd Leno. He saved us a lot of points last season. He's even saved us. He saved us and got us out of holes this season. Every player has a bad game, and when it's the goalkeeper, unfortunately, I used to be a goalkeeper.
Leno can get us to the top 4. He may not be able to win us a Premier League, but he can definitely get us to a top 4. I don't know. Is he really the problem at Arsenal? Like, not really.
I don't think so. I think it's very harsh to see what people have been saying about him. To be honest, like I said, I was a goalkeeper. When a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's it's times 100 because it's the goalkeeper. More or less it will lead to a goal. But so that's what I think we need. But going on what Dan said, I don't think we need to spend a lot of money. I think we've got a core there already. The Sakas, Saka, Pepe, Lacazette, Aubameyang, Odegaard, Thomas Partey, Kieran Tierney, Gabriel. We've got Saliba to come back. You got Leno, the goalkeeper. So do we really need to spend a lot of money? I don't think so.
Yeah, definitely need to spend a good amount of money on the right types of players, but that doesn't mean you have to overspend.
Well, exactly. If it's the right, it doesn't matter how, if it's the right kind of player for 25 million, take it. Look at Kieran Tierney.
What if it's the right type of player for 50? What if Real Madrid comes to us? I'll go to Dan on this one. What if Real Madrid comes to us and says that they want 50 or 60 million for Odegaard? Do you spend the money on him? Or do you get a cheaper option and spread the money around? It may come down to getting Odegaard and nothing else, or an alternative that we don't really know about and a couple other players. How do you feel about it?
We need to strengthen our midfield, but we don't need to strengthen our midfield with all of our money on one player. That's the way I honestly see it. And I don't think that they'll want 50 or 60 for Odegaard. I think they're more likely to want 35 to 40 million euros from what I'm hearing, which I think is a steal for the quality I've seen at a 22-year-old. Everybody is getting excited and comparing him to Mesut Ozil. I actually think he's completely different to Mesut Ozil from what I've seen. I've seen more work rate off the ball. I've seen more of a Cesc Fabregas, if I'm honest with you, than Mesut Ozil. So I'd be more than happy to have Martin Odegaard in the side. In terms of what we need still to move forward, and this is for me, a perfect summer, is 7 positions. I'd keep Leno as number 1. If he wouldn't have got injured last season, we wouldn't even be talking about Martinez and Leno being good enough, in my opinion. So I'd stick by him. I'd definitely sign Matt Ryan, 100%. That'd be one of my first signings because I think he's 10 times better than Runnison. I would get rid of him. I wouldn't even loan him out. He's 25. He's not going to get any better. He just looks not good enough for me. I've seen enough. So let's keep them 2. And then I think what I would do is sell Hector Bellerin. If we can get 25 million for this guy, then I think that's good money. And we need to upgrade him with someone who's young, vibrant, and a Kieran Tierney on the other side. That's what I'd like to see. A backup left back is needed, whether it's Mitchell from Palace, whether it is Bertrand from Southampton or Van Arnholt. They're talking about somebody to back up Kieran Tierney because he is unfortunately not always fit. And we do need some cover for Kieran Tierney. I still think, believe it or not, and people might laugh at this, but I still think we need another centre-half to partner Gabriel. I really do. And I think that although we've got rid of the Mustafis and people like that, I still think Callum Chambers and Mavropanos will be sold. And I think we'll have some money there potentially to replace with a Konate from Leipzig or somebody like that, who I think's 40 million release clause in euros. That would be a good signing for me. 22 years old, an absolute rock at the back to go next to Gabriel. And then obviously we keep the Pablo Maries and Rob Holdings and the William Salibas, who's apparently playing very well at Nice, as the cover. In midfield, I think we need a partner for Thomas Partey, and I would go for Basuma from Brighton for around about 25 million. I think they'd accept. Wants to come to Arsenal. He's a big Arsenal fan, and his hero is Patrick Vieira. I would take him next to Thomas Partey. He's got athleticism. He can pass the ball forward. His strength, his presence is needed. Thomas Partey needs that, not a statue next to him like Granit Xhaka. He needs somebody who can move. So as far as I'm concerned, I'd bring him in. I think Craig's right with El Neni. I think Craig's right with Ceballos. He needs to go back to Real Madrid. And it depends what we do with Maitland-Niles and Willock as backup. I think that Willock needs another loan for the season. I don't think he's quite ready. But I always like Maitland-Niles as a versatile player. I think he's one that can come in and do well. Martin Odegaard and Buendia are 2 players that I do like for the number 10 role. And I think Smith Rowe's got a future at the 10 as well, not on the left. I think he's great. I'd keep hold of Saka, Martinelli and Smith Rowe as youngsters, but I'd be getting another centre forward to upgrade on Lacazette, and that would be in my 7th position. I do think we need someone who's got that presence of Lacazette. Although I think he's had a good season, I don't think he deserves the 250k that he's apparently rumoured to want weekly. I don't think we can afford to give another player like that huge money that doesn't score 20 to 25 goals. I'd keep Aubameyang like Craig. I try and keep hold of Balogun, but I think both him and Eddie look to be out the door. Martinelli, I still see as a centre forward, but an Edouard for me would be probably the realistic option, or a Wout Weghorst from Wolfsburg. One of those two, who are both banging in goals, would probably be an upgrade on Lacazette. So they'd be the positions I'd upgrade, just to be honest. But that is a dream. I think maybe 4 players. I don't think we're going to go push the boat out and get all 7 of those covered in one window, if I'm honest.
Yeah, to be honest, when I was kind of writing it out, I was thinking 4. Odegaard, a right back. I saw that we were interested in Emerson, Royale. He's on loan at Real Betis from Barcelona. A very Edu-like choice, I think, because he's Brazilian. But maybe Sanderberg or somebody like that if we couldn't get Basuma. I think if Real Madrid asks a lot for Odegaard, that means Basuma's out. I don't see us spending 40 on Basuma and then 40 on Odegaard as well. It's one or the other, and then a backup left back, hopefully for free. But me and Craig were kind of talking about this before we got on air about, do we go for Premier League proven or smart buys from other leagues? We've gotten players from other leagues, but we've also been burned by them as well. And I think that we don't look inside the Premier League and even the championship enough. Are there any players from lower level teams, that are even English players that we should be looking at, because our homegrown quota looks like it's might be an issue as well, especially if we don't have Willock or Ainsley Maitland-Niles to make up the numbers. I'm looking at, somebody like Lamptey could be good, but I'm not sure about his physicality. Ivan Toney could be good, but I'm not sure if he plays the way that Arteta would like. It's kind of an odd situation to be in, but, Craig, you've been banging on that drum about Premier League proven players. Is that the direction that you'd want to go in, this summer?
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think it's very important that we bring in Premier League proven players, or not. They don't have to be Premier League proven, but have played in the Premier League and know what it's all about. I don't like it when we go out looking foreign and we bring in players that have, like you said, have burned us. There's been so many of them, and it's just absolute waste of money. We could have spent £20 million on Kante and brought him in from Leicester, a fellow who'd just won the league, and we went and spent 35 million on Granit Xhaka. To me, it just makes no sense whatsoever. Whoever stopped themselves from buying Kante and buying Granit Xhaka, I'd love to meet him and ask him why, because I know they were using. His name
is Arsene Wenger, and he didn't want to pay the agent fees for Kante.
They used to use a thing called Stat DNA to track the progress of a player. We could have had Van Dijk from Celtic for £12.5 million, but his Stat DNA didn't go in the right direction, so they refused it. He then went to Southampton, and now look at him. He went to Liverpool for 75 million. The proof is in the pudding. We need to put trust in our scouts, and we need to make sure that we've got good scouts. We need the manager to know what he wants for the players, instead of just letting people, oh, look at this fella, look, he'll be all right, he's only 20 million, oh yeah, go on then, bring him in. It needs the manager's discretion as well. I'm sure Mikel Arteta knows who he wants, and I'm sure Mikel Arteta has got his eyes on who he wants now. We're being told that they're already looking at 6 players, so I mean, if that's anything to go by, I mean, that's good news. They don't even have to be Premier League proven, Jess. I just want round pegs for round holes. I know I keep banging that drum and I keep saying that word because we brought in so many square pegs for the round holes over the last seasons. I've had enough of it now. If we're going to evolve as a club, Mikel Arteta has come in. He's got rid a lot of the dead wood. There's a lot of stuff been going on behind the scenes. It looks like we're going in the right direction, away from the pitch, not just on the pitch. I think it's very important that people realise that there's a lot going on behind the scenes, as well as what we're seeing, on the pitch, or what we see on the match day, or what we read in the newspapers. I just want, like I said, I mean, I'm sure Dan feels the same. It's just I want players to come to Arsenal and to want to play for Arsenal. Over the last few seasons, we've seen players come to Arsenal because they're getting paid well. I don't want to see any more of that. I want to see a young fella come in, put on the shirt, and feel it for the first time on him, and and have a look at the crest and know why he's here and who he's playing for. It's like the old Tony Adams saying, play for the badge on the front and we'll remember the name on the back. It doesn't matter what it is.
I'm
Hello?
muted.
Oh, there you go.
I do that all the time. Like, you would think that I would just get it together. But Yo-Yo says, won't make any signings if they fail to qualify for Europe and fail to win the Europa League. Some of these players are ultimately performing to bring in their replacements. That's kind of a good, decent point. But I do think that if we don't qualify for Europe, it's even more important to improve the squad because you're even further away from where you want to be. I think the further away we are, the more investment we need.
Well, we'll see how good Edu and Arteta are, won't we? If we don't qualify for Europe next season,
Yeah.
We've attracted some of the worst footballers I've seen with Champions League football. So I think without it, we'll be fine. The pulling power that this club has, I don't underestimate it. I said it before, the players that we've attracted with the Europa League, nobody comes to Arsenal to play on Thursday night. They come to play for the Arsenal. That's why they come. Whether you're in Europe, out Europe, in the Champions League, out the Champions League, they will come and wear that shirt. They'll live in London and they'll play for one of the biggest clubs in England because they feel that they are a team that will always be up there. And at the moment, we haven't been. And I believe that with a few extra players, we will have a good enough squad to get where we need to be. I just hope this manager convinces me by moving forward that he is the right man for the job, because I'm still not sure that he is. I think what he's doing off the field is great. I think that we've cleared some of the dead wood out. I think him and Edu have managed to look at some signings that they think can improve the side. The problem is they've looked at these players and we haven't improved. The league table does not lie. So we need to ensure that we are not 9th or 10th come May, and that we win that Europa League to give me some form of convincing that these two know what they're doing, because I haven't seen enough. And I know that, Craig is having patience and he wants Arteta to be given the time. So does most of the others on Same Old Arsenal with us. I'm the one who's been quite vocal about not being convinced by it, because I think those games in September, October has ruined our season. So when people say, since January we're in the top 4, the season doesn't start in January, the season starts back in August where we ballsed it up. So let's try and see how we go from now. I'd just like to see just a run of consistent games, if I'm honest with you. And we can't seem to get that. For every Tottenham win, there's a West Ham mess up. For every Chelsea win, there's a mess up at home to Burnley. And for every time that we go to Old Trafford and get 3 points finally, we then mess it up at Villa at home by getting battered 3-0. I don't want to see that. I want to see a run of consistent performances, not just results, to say, do you know what? We might not have got 3 points there, but what a performance from these lads. And I want to see that in every single game. And I know that that's a big ask, but that's what I grew up with. And people can sit there and call me spoiled brats if they want, because that's what I grew up with and that's what I believed we were going to the Emirates to do. I thought we knocked our stadium down to compete with Barcelona and Bayern Munich. We haven't done that yet because we've lost 10-2 on aggregate to them, and we've not even managed to get into the Champions League for 5 seasons now. That isn't progress for me. So I don't blame Arteta for that. I blame the board and the owners, and that's where my fingers have been pointing for the last 15 years, if I'm honest with you, because trusting a process for 16 months is something that I've been trusting for 16 years, and I've not seen us progress. So until I start to see that, I'm going to be an unhappy bunny, like you like to say. And I'll be a happy bunny when I start to see us performing. And there's nothing more than I want more than for us to win the Europa League this season. I think that Arteta I will applaud him and say, do you know what? You have proven to me in 2 seasons that you can get a team that is bang average in certain positions up for some of the biggest games. And if you can take home that trophy, which, let's be honest, we've got an easier run on that side of the draw for the Europa League. Let's bring it home, and then we'll discuss where I see Arteta's future.
You hear that, Arteta? You need to win the Europa League for Dan so he can, feel like you're the right man for the job. If you hear us, Arteta, that's what you need to do. I mean, he's under a lot of pressure. I know that it looks like he's not, but I do think he's under pressure. I think if we're not in Europe, and we get to December of next season, he's gone. If we're not looking like we're going to be up there, so I don't think it's going to be easy for him. I mean, it's been a tough season, but I just think that we went into the season unprepared, like very unprepared. And then the more that I think back on it, I know we're talking about squad building, but the more I think Arteta's willingness to trust certain players messed him up. It took him until he was basically almost in the relegation zone to do what we all kind of knew he needed to do, which was ditch some of the older players and trust the youth. If he had done that earlier, we probably wouldn't be in this position. He gives Aubameyang and Willian very long leashes, and they haven't really lived up to it per se. Instead of players like Pepe or Lacazette, giving them a chance. Like, why did it take him so long to bring in Smith Rowe? Then you bring in Smith Rowe. Now we see a change. So I'm hoping that he learns from this season and who he can trust and who he can't. And he has to start. And Yo-Yo says this a lot, that he needs to start trusting people based on form, and not based on like trust from something that they used to do. It's almost like you're only as good as your last game. The fact that he played Saka against West Ham to me didn't make sense when you could have just played Pepe. I get Xhaka, but I don't get Saka. I don't. Like, he played him into the ground. Now we can't use him. You need to play other players and trust. So that's what I'd like to see from him at the end of the season, is making ruthless decisions and not trusting people just because they're the big guy with the big contract. Trust the guys that are actually getting the job done. Lacazette and Pepe have been playing really well lately, and they're still not getting the accolades that I feel like they deserve, but that's neither here nor there. But somebody decided to come. Salih Judges. Look.
Evening.
Late.
Good morning, Lee.
Evening. How are we? All right.
Well, I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good, thank you very much, Jess. All good, so busy. Sorry about that.
Well, thanks for having us, Jess. It's been a great 45 minutes, and we'll see you again soon.
Oh my gosh. So, but it's all good. We've kind of just, these kind of conversations just kind of go everywhere, because we could talk about so many things, but something that we haven't really touched on is two players in particular that I think deserve some time, which is Guendouzi and Torreira, two players that are out on loan right now, not doing well on their loans at all. Players that we probably thought we could make some money off of if we sold them, but looks like it might be difficult to shift them on. If you had to choose between one or the other to end up back at the Emirates, I think at least one of them will. Who would you choose? Lee, I'll start with you. Would you rather see Guendouzi come back or Torreira?
Yeah, Guendouzi for me, if it out of the two. I think that Young still got lots to offer. I just think with Torreira, I think that he's, if I'll be honest, I think with Torreira, I think that the Premier League doesn't suit him. Just the physicalities of it all, and he's a little bit small. I know that's a little bit harsh thing to say, but I just don't think that it suits him. It doesn't mean to say that he's not a bad player. And I think that going to Spain was a poor move for him. He's hardly played. I don't know why that sort of was given to him. It really just seemed like, let's get him out to anybody without really thinking like long term of games, you know what I mean? So I feel that that's probably why that was there. If they really wanted him to have a long term future, I felt they would have made sure that he got game time, but they've just sort of left him out there, really, So I think that's a little bit harsh. So I would definitely go with Guendouzi. I think that we've got a bit of a problem with our midfield because we're going to probably lose a couple of midfield players. So maybe we're going to keep one, or if good money comes in for Guendouzi, then I think we may be sold. But he seems to be putting out some good vibes that he wants to stay at the club. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Dan, what do you think? Would you rather keep Guendouzi or Torreira? If you have to choose, I just think we're not going to have enough money to we're not going to be able to sell everybody, and we're not going to be able to buy whoever we want. And the midfield numbers to me are low as they are. Ceballos leaves, and Elneny, maybe he leaves, maybe he doesn't. I don't see Arteta bringing up Aziz. I know a lot of people want that. I don't see it. So if one of them had to come back, which one would you choose?
Well, I think both of them are going to leave. But if I had to pick one to bring back, it would be Guendouzi, because I don't believe he deserves the criticism that people are giving him for doing stuff that I don't think is as bad as what Granit Xhaka has done. You've got one player who's got in the face of Neil Mopai. You've got another player who's threw the armband off. One of them's getting a game and the other one's been told to go on loan. I don't really get that. I'd rather see the passion on the pitch. A lot of people disagree and think that he's got a bad attitude and thinks he needs to go. I think he's a young kid that needs to grow up and needs to be given a chance next to players like Thomas Partey, who have experienced in the game, and say, listen, lad, if you want to use your passion, then use it on me in the training pitch and use it against the North London derby. Don't go and use it against the manager. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's been something gone on in training or behind the scenes that we don't know. Because Arteta's clearly rated the kid because he was playing him. And what was happening in training behind the scenes, we don't know. But it looks as if he's fallen out with him. With Torreira, I actually like the lad. I think he's a good player. I think he's that little bull terrier who's at your ankles. He's tenacious. He's a horrible player to come up against. He hasn't got the physical presence, though, and I think that you need that in the Premier League. I think he'll be suited back in Italy. He did well at Sampdoria. I think he'll probably go back there to either Napoli, Fiorentina, Sampdoria, somewhere like that, because I don't think he could settle in England. I'm not so sure that he wasn't suited to the Premier League, but I think you do need some presence when you're in that midfield in the Premier League, and I'm not sure that he's got that. Although he's quite strong for his size, I don't think he's got the ability there. So I think both will probably leave. If I had to invite one back, it would be Guendouzi. But I think if you was to accept, say, 20 to 25 million for both players, I'd say that was good business if we could then put that towards a couple of others. So, yeah, I would say both of them have probably not got a future at Arsenal, Jess, if I'm honest with you. But I do think they're good footballers. And if I'm honest with you, I'd probably swap them both at the moment with El Neni and Ceballos. I'd probably rather have Torreira and Guendouzi. That's how poor and weak our midfield is.
Craig, do you agree? Is there any argument for bringing maybe Torreira back, or do you think that ship has just sailed,
Yeah. The Torreira ship has definitely sailed. He's one I'd definitely let go, but I would actually bring back Guendouzi in. I've only seen him play one game live, and the one game I saw him playing live in, he was absolutely brilliant. And it was one of his first games. Me and Lee were actually together watching it in Dublin. We played. It was only a friendly as well, but we played Chelsea in Dublin, and he was brilliant. Everything was going through him. He had great ball control. His passing was brilliant. He can read the game brilliantly. I was disappointed when Arteta shipped him out. I thought it was the wrong thing to do. I was one of the few people that actually stuck up for him. I don't see why. I don't think I agree with Dan. though. I don't see why it was the thing that happened at Brighton that he got shipped off. I wouldn't ship out one of my players for having a bit of passion and a bit of fight in him. Now, he probably shouldn't have got him round the throat, but we haven't seen that at Arsenal for a long time. And then a player comes in with a bit of bite and he's been shipped out. I agree with Dan. I think something's happened behind the scenes. Probably to be with what we got to understand is he's a young lad. He's come from French League 2, and all of a sudden now he's been thrust into being a Premier League footballer. He's obviously got the wrong attitude. Now, attitude can be changed. Attitude can be, like I said, it can be changed. I think bringing Guendouzi back into a team with Odegaard, Thomas Partey, Kieran Tierney, I think we'll see a different Guendouzi. And I'm one of the very few that would love to see him come back.
Yeah, I mean, I really think it's going to be difficult to shift both of these players. I know, Dan says that he thinks they'll be gone. I just think Guendouzi is kind of one of those players that nobody wants to touch. He's gaining this reputation of being, like C. Wilder said, you can just read that, but that's basically
what I was laughing at. I wasn't laughing at you, Craig. I was laughing at this comment. It's quality.
What he's kind of become, so I'm not really seeing it, especially just the way Arteta is. He seems like he really wants to follow through with this authoritarian type of thing. So I don't see him coming back. I don't know if he'll get sold. And it's just unfortunate because, just a couple months ago, in the summer, we were thinking, maybe a little bit before that maybe like 40 to 50 was what was being quoted for Guendouzi. Now I'd be surprised if we got half of that, which is really unfortunate. But for me at this point with Guendouzi, anything over what we bought him for, which was about 8 million, take it and just send him on. I don't think Arteta's going to give him a chance. I think we're going to see another year of El Neni. I hope he doesn't get a new contract, but I think we'll see him stay, and Torreira, hopefully we won't even get what we paid for him back. We won't. He hasn't played enough, and it just seems like maybe the game has passed him by. He can go to Italy, but whatever team he goes to won't be one of the better ones, so it's just unfortunate. But those are two players that came in when Emery was there that had huge upside, young players that we should have been able to sell for more. And for whatever reason, we're not going to be able to. I don't think so. So we'll see what happens with them. But I don't think either of them are going to come back. But the midfield options they're so weak. You have Thomas, who's obviously really good, world class. Then you have Xhaka. Arteta likes him, but I mean, is Xhaka going to take like a rotational role? I think his ego is a little bit too big for that. He's not going to want to just, sit behind a Basuma or something. But I think there may be something to maybe thinking about this a little bit differently. Are we sure that Arteta wants to bring in somebody like Basuma for the midfield position next to Partey? Or, I mean, the end of the game against West Ham, he played with Thomas by himself. Is there a chance that maybe he would want to bring in like an Awa instead and play 3 in the midfield, 1 defensive and 2 more offensive like Odegaard and Awa? Do you guys think that might be something that he's looking at, or you think it's definitely like a defensive person?
I think that the midfield needs major surgery. And Granit Xhaka is not an important part to get rid of. I don't think Granit Xhaka will be gone this next season. I think whatever happens, there's other areas that we need to improve on, and also I think that he'll be here for another season, and then maybe look to move him on. I think that the Xhaka Partey one seems to work at the moment. We haven't really seen the best of Partey at the moment, but once we do, I think we've got to get someone who gets the backup along that side. And I think that may be Guendouzi. I still think that could be something there for a year. We will spend money on other areas. I think we've got a big problem. What's going to happen up front? We're going to lose, I think, at least 2 forwards there. So we're going to have to look to spend a bit of money there. So I don't think we have to really look to get rid of Xhaka this season. I think he's doing an okay job. I know Dan's not going to like that, but it's going to be all right for a year, and then look to improve. That's what I think. Sometimes you have to do it in stages, and I think that Granit Xhaka is not the main priority at the moment to move on.
I mean, we've been kind of hearing for like years that since he's been in our midfield, we haven't been top 4.
True.
So can a midfield of Granit Xhaka, Thomas Partey, and maybe potentially Martin Odegaard get us there? Dan, I'm not sure.
No.
You'd be down for that.
Sorry, I think that's very harsh on Granit Xhaka, to be honest. Very harsh indeed for people bringing up that stat. The thing about it is our defence hasn't been no good. Do you know? Our defence has only got good over the last 6 months. We're the third. Oh, it's probably gone down a bit now, but we're 3rd or 4th best defensive record in the league. Imagine where we could be if we scored a few goals.
Yeah, Aubameyang's goals really hurt us. I think you have Aubameyang's goals, or you have a creative midfielder at the beginning of the season that could get him the ball. We're talking about a completely different season. So maybe if we start out with that, I mean, again, since Christmas we've been top 6. But I still think there's some pockets to fill, weaknesses in certain players. I think about David Luiz, and he's good, but the mistake is coming. He can't start every single game.
I think David Luiz is an important one to keep, not necessarily in the team, but around the place, because we've already
give
heard
him an extension.
Well, no, yeah, but you see, it depends. I wouldn't give him an extension to play. I'd try and bring him in on a different capacity, because we've already heard Saka, Maitland-Niles, Kieran Tierney, the young fellas saying what a massive influence he has on them. So I think it's very important that if we're going to progress, that we keep people like him, because if he's got to have him in the dressing room for the younger players to go to for advice, or whatever it is they're doing and whatever it is he's doing for them seems to be working, doesn't it? So when you hear those kind of things, I think it's very important that we keep people, not necessarily players, but people like him around the club and around the dressing room. Wouldn't
you like to see David Luiz, give some of that experience to somebody like William Saliba? Like, I think it's like unfortunate that he's not there. I mean, he plays center back. Wouldn't it be nice for Saliba to get some of that, arm around the shoulder from somebody who actually plays the same position as him? Lee, would you give David Luiz an extension, and would you bring Saliba back? Those are my 2 questions.
100% bring Saliba back. I think that's a sure. I'll get him back straight away. As soon as the season starts, because he's had a good. what I think Mikel Arteta wants to do with him is make sure he's had a good sort of 6 months solid football, which he seems to be getting now. So that's important. I would keep David Luiz as a backup to Saliba or somebody like that. I wouldn't actually say, right, I wouldn't expect David Luiz to have so many games as he's having at the moment. But in saying that, he has done okay this season. He's been a lot better this season than he was last. Now, is that because he wants another contract or not? I don't know. But for me, I think you've got to keep a bit of an experienced player in there. And I would say, right, you know, as one of the backup defenders, you know, comes in games which, you know, like Carabao Cup, FA Cup, and as a backup. And even sometimes if we're up against it and we need someone to come into a back three, he could still come in and do that job. So I do think that we should give him another year's contract. But if we give him another year's contract and we're not signing a central defender or Saliba's not coming back, then time to worry.
For sure. Dan, do you want to see Mavropanos come back? Is that an option for you? A lot of people are talking about Mavropanos, but when I look at him, I just think, bring Saliba back. As good as he's playing, bring Saliba back. If you're going to bring Mavropanos back, bring Saliba back. But maybe there's a chance for him to come in. Would you bring in Mavropanos?
I'm a big fan of players that are on form, and Mavropanos and Saliba are on form. So I would rather see them in the team than I would David Luiz. I think David Luiz of the last few games has been very good. Granit Xhaka of this season has been very good. They're ticking time bombs waiting to go off. And both of them will make mistakes, and both of those players will cost us goals. And I've seen enough of that for 4 or 5 years. So I'm going to disagree with the boys and say, get rid of David Luiz, get rid of Granit Xhaka, and let's move forward, not backwards. We've seen what these guys can do. They've shown me what they can do for the last 5 years. They've showed me what both these players have shown me for the last 5 years that they ain't up to it. And I want to move forward. I don't want to be stuck with El Neni and Xhaka next season. But I fear that we will. Be.
Poor El Neni.
Because I don't think that anyone wants them. I really don't think anybody wants them. Who is going to want these players? You could put some of these players in this side outside your house with free to a good home, and they would still be there in the morning. Nobody wants them. Look at some of these players. Look at the wages they're on.
I agree with David Luiz not playing. But I think when you've got young players, you know, coming out and saying what an influence he is, I think it's important that a player or a man like that stays around. So whether they bring him in as a coach or bring him in and keep him here in some capacity, I just think it's important to have men like that around, players like that around, who the young fellas can go to. That would be my only reasoning for keeping him here. I certainly wouldn't be giving him a contract to be playing, because Dan's right, Lee's right, you're right, Jess. He's not good enough, and he's not going to be good enough if we want to move on. But I just think it's important we keep players like that around, just for that reason, for the young players.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like they spoke about how he was instrumental in getting Saka to sign a new contract and all that kind of stuff. So I get it, you know, and I think they are kind of grooming him to become some sort of player coach or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they announced it that he was some sort of player coach like next season or something. He's doing his badges. He spoke about that before, you know, but he needs to play less minutes. He needs to play less minutes.
I absolutely agree.
He's playing too much right now. And you can see Arteta starting to rely on him again ever since Holding has kind of gotten his injury. You know, he had his concussion. It's been David Luiz. I agree with some of the people in the chat box that he is a ticking time bomb. He was not good against Olympiacos to me. He was okay against West Ham. I think he plays better in big games. That's why he was good in the North London Derby. So I expect to see him a little bit more towards the end of the season. But my caveat to Arteta would be, you know, if you want David Luiz to stay and we give him another contract, you need to bring Saliba in and make him work. And you need to get rid of Chambers or somebody, you know, because we can't just have all these guys here, even though I think having utility players is important. And Chambers did play well the other day. If you offered me 10 million for him right now, I'd bite your hand off for it, you know, because we need some money, you know. I don't know how you guys feel about Chambers. Is that somebody that you would keep around or get rid of? You know, they asked, I think there was an interesting question the other day where somebody was like, well, you know, if you knew that you were going to have Chambers and Cedric, would you sell Bellerin and take that money and pay for Odegaard? And I was just thinking, I can't imagine a life with Cedric and Chambers at right back. You know,
No.
I've got to upgrade there.
Yeah.
But I feel sorry for Chambers because he's just not quite done it through injuries and whatever. Like, you know, I mean, maybe it's time to move him on for that reason, which is a bit harsh. But I would probably look to maybe if you're going to bring back Mav, I'm not going to say he's other than that, like Mav and to leave her. Like, get him back. Dino, I think Dino is his name. Dino. Get them two back, and then you can sell Holding and Chambers as well. The only thing that I don't like about doing that is that they're both English. Like, you know, with the rule of the English guys and everything like that. But sometimes you've got to be a bit ruthless. It's just not quite happened for Chambers, and it's a shame. I really do like him. I do see something in him, but he hasn't got enough pace to be at right back. And I just don't know if he's good enough to play central defence. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it. I'm really, really not. But again, if somebody offered us 10 million for him, I would take it because we need to raise funds somewhere. But you know, if you were like, okay, well, you can sell one utility player, either Ainsley Maitland-Niles or Chambers, I would sell Ainsley Maitland-Niles because he don't want to be here. That's one thing about Ainsley is I don't think he's going to come back because he does not want to play. He doesn't want to be a utility player. Whereas I think Chambers would be like, cool, I'm at Arsenal. I like being here. Sure, I'm rotational, but I can do a job, you know. So Ainsley really disappointed me. Like, I like him. I think he's a good player, but the choice to go to West Brom, relegation side, just to play midfield, you killed every chance that you had to make the Euros by not going to a team that you would play right back at.
Very true.
You are right back. Like, sometimes when people are telling you, like experts are telling you, other teams view you as a right back, Arteta views you as a right back, fans think you're a right back. That's your position. You're good at it. And I think even the way Arteta likes to play with like the right back kind of being like almost like a midfielder would suit him. I can't believe he just threw away the chance to play for Arsenal. He could easily step into that position after Bellerin's gone. You know, that would save us money. I think he's hard-headed. I think he's
I'm with you on it though.
You know, I'm really disappointed in Ainsley Maitland-Niles, you know. And even if you look at Willock, he looks more at home as a central midfielder at Newcastle than Ainsley looks at West Brom, you know.
Good point.
What about Willock? Do you guys think, you know, let's talk about Willock, Eddie, and Reece Nelson. All kind of similar ages, not really making it into the squad. On loan, one of them's on loan. Eddie's just kind of sitting around. He's not making the squad, and neither is Reece. What do we do with these three players? How do you feel?
Sell. Yeah, unfortunately.
Who's going to buy them?
Yeah,
who would buy them?
It's a quick answer, Jess. I'm afraid I'd sell all three of them.
Yeah, there'd be people that are going from like, you know, I think you're right about it. Willock's done okay at Newcastle, and a Newcastle would fit well for him. Somebody like that. Eddie will always pick up a team, whether it be. See, this is the thing, you know what I mean? People are saying, "I'll put Eddie in the team and all that." Like now saying, "Well, he ain't going to get in any other team in England." You know what I mean? That's where we're at with him. Like, you know, I think that he'll make a good championship team, top of the championship side. But I think that he'll have to go. Reece Nelson, one of those players, when he first broke onto the scene, I thought was going to be fantastic. Again, injuries have curtailed, so maybe sell loan. But I can't see him being at Arsenal next season. None of them.
Wow. Not even one. I don't know. I think we'll see. Homegrown issue to me. I think they're all going to be about 21 years old. We may need to keep some players around for homegrown quota. You know, everybody's kind of saying it in the chat that we're not really making those numbers. So that may make a difference. But yeah, if I had my chance, I thought we should have sold Eddie in January.
Yeah.
You know, when Arteta came out and said, we're not selling, he's not for sale. I'm like, of course he's for sale. He should have been for sale. He's not. When's the last time he played?
Well, maybe, Jess, that they wanted to sell him and he's turned around and said no. So that's what, and now all of a sudden he's not in the squad. I don't know. There might be something in that, you know what I mean? But I can't see why they wanted him to stay. And then, as you say, he's not been in one squad since.
I mean, is he going to be an issue? Okay, go ahead, Dan.
No, sorry, Jess. I think all three will stay at the club, and I think they'll all be on loan next season. I really do. I think Eddie will sign a new contract, unfortunately, and I think he'll be loaned out because Arteta likes him for whatever reason. I think Reece Nelson will get a loan move that I think he deserves because I don't think he's been treated very kindly by Arteta, in my opinion. I actually disagree slightly with Maitland-Niles, and I think that the mismanagement of him was half the reason why he left. He was going to go to Wolves, and they begged him to stay, and he stayed, and he treated him like dirt. So he went and got first-team football. That's my view on it. With Willock, never rated him. Never rated this guy. This guy is just, for me, is a bang average player, and he's not making Newcastle look any better, in my opinion. So I don't think that he can come back. And I think if you line them up, we've talked about Chambers, Holding's got a mention earlier. Obviously, the three kids we're just talking about now. How many of those would get into the Everton first team or the West Ham first team? None. So I think they need to all go, don't they? I don't know. That maybe it's harsh.
I don't think any of them, whether you send them out on loan, none of them are ever, in my opinion, people might have different opinion, but I don't think any of them will cement a place at Arsenal Football Club at any time.
Yeah, I mean, Willock, no. But Reece, I don't know.
No,
I don't really agree that I don't think he's done anything to deserve playing time, but not be Willian, to be honest. Like when he goes out there, he doesn't have any end product, and if the team if the coach is telling you that you need to go on a loan, that's what you need to do in order to play for Arsenal Football Club. You don't not go on the loan, you go on the loan, so this whole thing about he denied the loan and he wanted to stay just shows me that I don't think he's pushing for his career the way that he should be, but that's just my opinion on it. I mean, they could all go or they could all stay, but yeah, let's just do like 5 minutes of questions. I mean, Craig, I know you have to go. Do you have a couple more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, you guys go ahead and get your questions in so we can, somebody asked about Martinelli. Lee, you've been very vocal about saying that if Arteta doesn't rate Martinelli, then Arteta should go. Do you still feel that way, or have you?
Well, I think he's listened to me, Mikel, because he started to give him some minutes now, So I'll let him off at this moment in time. But I've been disappointed that you talk about Maitland-Niles being mistreated. Dan just said about that, not getting enough game time after. I think that he's been mistreated, Martinelli. I really do. He's a talent. He come on the other day, showed some things and all that. I do feel he deserves a little bit of a run. Certainly deserves to play on the left-hand side in front of someone like Aubameyang. I'll be honest, who's been poor the last couple of games. Whether he deserves to play in front of Smith Rowe, I can accept that, and I can probably accept Pepe at the moment. But I'm not going to accept it when Willian goes out there or Aubameyang, because that's not fair on the kid.
Do you agree with that, Dan, about the whole Martinelli
100%.
thing?
100%. Me and Judges have been well vocal about this, and people have told me that Arteta rates this kid and thinks he's exceptional. The minutes he's getting on the pitch doesn't prove that. And people can sit there and say that it's because he's had a long-term injury and he's only 19. But I don't buy that, because Bellerin had an ACL. He's been playing more than anyone. Rob Holding had a really bad ACL. He came in. You've got players like Thomas Partey and Kieran Tierney that have come back from injury and gone straight back in to play 90 minutes. I don't buy it. Smith Rowe and Saka play all the time. So why is this kid any different? I don't get that. I really don't understand that. As far as I'm concerned, people are saying, drop the agenda now. He's playing 6 minutes a game. Nothing's going to happen in that time. This kid needs half an hour of a game at least, or 60 minutes of a game to be proven anything. You can't expect the guy to come back from Chelsea, who, by the way, was superb with him, Smith Rowe and Saka that game, and then never play again. He started against Manchester United and got binned at half-time for absolutely no reason. So I think we need to see a lot more of this kid, because I think that when you team him up with the tenacity of the Alexis Sanchez type player, who I believe is a striker, by the way, not a left winger, I think if you have him, Ødegaard, Smith Rowe and Saka, that front four excites me 100%. I'd give it a go.
Mikel Arteta is coaching Martinelli into being the next big striker at Arsenal. I'm telling you that now. And that is why he hasn't been getting minutes, because of his injury. We've all seen the training videos. The kid is going to be a beast next year. And I reckon Martinelli will feature very, very heavily next year up front. as a striker. So
Craig has spoken.
I think that as well. I've said it many times that I don't see the issue. He's from the 4th tier in Brazilian football. We're playing different tactics. He's not tactically ready to play in this system. He's a good player with a lot of passion, loves to run around, has looked a little off of it since he's come back, and they're going to make him into a center forward, and we're going to be able to save money if we're not able to bring in a striker, play Martinelli there, and if Aubameyang's not playing well, put Martinelli in. I'm sure he'll score a goal. All right, let's go round robin for this, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here. This is kind of a good question. Would you do a swap with, I guess, at Real Madrid for Saliba for Odegaard? They're going to lose Varane, I think, maybe.
Great question.
Yeah, there you put a question like that in. That's too tough.
I mean, we need Odegaard, but we haven't gotten a chance to see Saliba. But he's one of the only players that I think we have that they'd be interested in, for a swap,
I'd swap Aubameyang for him.
Yeah, I would too.
So we're not swapping Saliba.
I wouldn't swap Saliba for Odegaard, no.
I'd swap Xhaka for Odegaard.
Xhaka's going to end his career at Arsenal.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best midfielders. Everyone keeps telling me. Why would they not want Granit Xhaka? Everybody says he's great. Surely Real Madrid would want him.
He might do well at Real Madrid. Actually, it might suit him a bit more.
Saliba's going to be a good player for us. You know what I mean? 20 years of age. He's got all of his career in front of him. He's got to keep, centrally fit. Him and Gabriel, were two. One at 22, one at 20. That's 5, 6, 7, 8 years of central defensive bar injury. That's too good to turn up, not to turn down. We've been wanting those sort of players for far too long. Now we've got them. We don't need to be selling them.
Yeah, I agree. I can't let the Saliba thing go. I think something happened there. Poorly managed. Like if I had one thing to be like, this was so poorly managed, it would be that. I actually have watched him before. I think he's really, really good, and he would be perfect with Saliba, or with Gabriel. Because if you like David Luiz and the fact that he's a ball-playing center back, likes to dribble out of the back, get into the attack, Saliba's that, but younger and better. So I'm hoping that he gets a chance. But yeah, I wouldn't swap him for Odegaard as much as I like him. Put Smith Rowe there instead. Then if that's the case. But all right, you guys, we've been going for an hour and 6 minutes. Well, Lee hasn't been going for an hour and 6 minutes. He's been going for about 5 minutes.
Go on,
so
Jess, you give it to
we should all just sign out and leave him here with the chat box, and he can answer questions since he left them hanging for so long. But no, I'm just joking. But yeah, you guys, this was an awesome show. Thank you so much. I know these shows we just kind of talk about whatever and just bounce around from topic to topic, but it is what it is. We talked about our squad building, what we'd like to see, what we think is going to happen, and ultimately none of it is going to happen. We're going to be seeing something else. It never happens the way that we think it's going to happen. But yeah, you guys, let me see. Thank you to everybody in the chat. We have about 77 people watching. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being on my show. I really appreciate it. And I hope that we can collaborate soon in the future. Lee, when is that channel coming out?
That was we're sort of sorting it out now. So I do all the graphics and everything for it, and that. So hopefully in the next month or so it'll be out. Month, 2 months, it'll all be out. So we're working on it behind the scenes now for the big launch.
Awesome. You guys, in the description box, I have all the information for Same Old Arsenal. If you've never listened to their podcast or watched them on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You're a failure. You're not a real Arsenal fan. That's where you need to be. So you guys, when do your shows come out? What days, times, and all that kind of stuff, so people know when to watch you?
So we do our main podcast every Monday evening at 7:00 UK time. I'm not going into EST or what is it you call it over there? EST and PS.
Just do the UK times.
UK time is 7:00. You can work it out. We do. Well, I don't know if we're going to carry on doing it now because Lee's got his own show. We were doing a show called Question of Arsenal. That was being done on Wednesday nights. Dan does his own show on a Friday called The Team Talk. Again, that's at 7:00 as well. And then sometimes we might do one on Tuesday. We might do one on Thursday, depending on who's about and what there is to talk about. So come over and subscribe to us. Find us on YouTube at the Same Old Arsenal, and you can follow us on Twitter as well at Same Old AFC.
All right, you guys heard it there. That's where you guys are going to find them and watch all their great and wonderful shows. You can follow me on Twitter at It's Justino. I can't really remember what the next show is, if I'm being honest, you guys. I'm really crap at that, figuring out what the next show is. But good news is I told you guys about a big guest coming on soon, and I actually got my ticket was called, and I finally got Clive. Clive will be on the show next week, and so will Elliot Smith. So we have the Arsenal Vision guys coming on. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.